North Korea ships 30,000 troops and 25,000 drone builders to Russia. Remember when North Korea was the global punchline for bad haircuts and worse missiles? Well, it's 2025, and Kim Jong Un just did a career pivot. Forget Hermit Kingdom. Now it's Hermit Kingdom with a union card, and the newest employer? Well, that's the Russian Ministry of Defense, specializing in drone assembly lines, frontline cannon fodder, and just to keep things interesting, a little backroom barter in sophisticated air defense system. Putin and Kim's romance is the smash hit of the summer. Two houses, both alike in indignity, in fair Pyongyang, where we lay our scene. Hey friends, Wes here, and Moscow is about to have a new North Korean workforce. Moscow's labor shortage isn't new. Russian defense plants have been starving for skilled workers ever since the Soviet factory towns turned into bingo halls and rusting bus stops. But the Ukrainian war supercharged the crisis. As drone warfare morphed from curiosity to lifeline, the Kremlin's planners realized their biggest bottleneck wasn't technology or even sanctions. It was a shortage of hands who actually know how to build stuff reliably. By the thousands, enter Kim Jong Un, the man-child ace up Russia's industrial sleeve. Kim Jong Un, never one to let a revenue opportunity pass him by, is dispatching a small army of industrial workers, 25,000 strong, to the heart of Russia's military-industrial machine. Picture an exodus of technicians, machinists, and electronics assemblers stepping off battered buses in Tatarstan, all under the watchful eye of Russian security, clutching toolboxes and survival rations. They're not tourists, they're not advisors, they're the new backbone of the Alabuga drone factory, keeping production lines humming at a pace that would make any capitalist management consultant break out in a cold sweat. The North Koreans bring a brand of factory discipline and technical training that survived decades of zhoosh austerity and purges back home. In an era where Russia's own education system is struggling to crank out enough engineers who can operate a soldering iron without burning down the plant, Kim's workforce is oddly reliable. They don't ask questions, they don't strike for better lunch breaks, and most importantly, they're a pipeline of skilled labor Russia can pay in rubles, food, or whatever currency Pyongyang's regime fancies this week. From the Kremlin's perspective, it's a rare win-win. Russia gets an industrial shot in the arm, while North Korea reaps hard currency, and more importantly, access to technology that would be locked away in Moscow if it weren't so desperate. The Alabuga plant becomes both a drone factory and a finishing school for North Korean engineers. Learn by doing, then take those skills back to Pyongyang's own weapons programs. It's a real-life arms bazaar and trade school rolled into one. If you're wondering why Putin is inviting an entire foreign workforce into one of his most sensitive military projects, the answer is simple. He doesn't have a better option. North Korea is the only cog in the machine that fits right now, as Moscow tries to turn drone warfare into an industrialized meat grinder, not just a boutique capability. Bottom line, when you see swarms of Shahed drones over Ukrainian skies, chances are they didn't just come from Russian workers. They were made, quite literally, by the hands of Pyongyang's best and most exportable resource, its people. But that's not all. Pyongyang also sends 30,000 more North Korean troops, because Putin can't say no to bulk orders. If you thought the DPRK sending 25,000 assembly workers to Russia was a little disquieting, just wait. Let's talk about boots on the ground, because that's exactly what Kim Jong Un is sending to Russia in a scale that would make even Wagner blush. 30,000 more North Korean soldiers are reportedly heading west, not for sightseeing, but for hard, cold frontline combat in Ukraine. Russia's special military operation has always relied on a steady drip of manpower, whether it's poorly trained conscripts from the Russian hinterlands, mercenaries with questionable tattoos, or convicted criminals looking for a pardon and a fast track to a pine box. But this new wave of North Korean fighters is a real big boy strategic escalation. These aren't cooks, drivers, or guys painting fences behind the lines. They're actual combat troops, reportedly meant to reinforce offensive operations. North Korean troops have a well-earned reputation for obedience and toughness. Maybe less so for tactical finesse, but Putin's not picky. He needs bodies. Kim's sending bodies. This isn't lost on Ukraine's generals, who now face the prospect of fighting a foreign legion again that's motivated not just by pay, but by a regime back home that treats falling in battle like hitting the Powerball. North Korea's state TV has started celebrating its own martyrs in Ukraine, painting their sacrifices as a glorious extension of the motherland's global struggle. If you're a Pyongyang conscript with no connections, your odds of seeing home again are about the same as getting a vacation in Miami. The scale of this deployment has real consequences on the battlefield. For Moscow, it means breathing room for Russian units worn thin by years of fighting, and the ability to rotate exhausted formations off the line. For Kim, it's a demonstration that North Korea is willing to bleed, literally, for its new strategic partner. It's also a chance for his troops to gain real experience they could never get in a controlled Pyongyang parade. So what's in it for Kim? Well, it's not just a box of chocolates and a thank you note. Let's talk quid pro quo. Why is Kim playing quartermaster and manpower contractor for Moscow? Because the trade-off is deliciously 21st century. North Korea gets a crash course in drone production, operational expertise from Russia's defense sector, and just this week, a shiny new Russian Pantsir S-1 air defense system. Ding, 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 complete with the kind of jamming tech that keeps Western pilots awake at night. That's a big deal for Pyongyang. The Pantsir S-1 can blast helicopters, cruise missiles, and even drones out of the sky, while its radar and optical tracking let it handle swarms. Just the sort of challenge North Korea expects when things get spicy on the peninsula. Add in Russia's technical upgrades for North Korea's own missile guidance systems, and Kim's military just got a major power-up, all in flagrant violation of a stack of UN sanctions. So while Western pundits are busy counting containers, 20,000 shipped from North Korea to Russia since last fall, with millions of artillery shells, anti-tank missiles, and more, well, the real story is the military tech trade. North Korea gets hands-on experience with modern drone production, advanced air defense, and a deepening alliance with the world's favorite international pariah. But Kim isn't just trading workers for blueprints. There's a less visible but more tantalizing benefit: diplomatic leverage. By stepping up as Moscow's indispensable ally, North Korea forces Russia into a position where it needs Pyongyang far more than the other way around. That means Kim gets to bargain for all the things he actually cares about, like satellite launch tech, missile guidance upgrades, and even raw materials that have been hard to come by since the border slammed shut in 2020. It's a rare moment where the Hermit Kingdom calls the shots instead of just responding to them. Let's not forget prestige. Kim gets to look tough and relevant on the world stage. For a regime obsessed with image and survival, being able to point to Russian medals, state visits, and cutting-edge air defense systems rolling through Pyongyang is both propaganda gold and a deterrent message to both Seoul and Washington. Mess with us and you're not just dealing with North Korea anymore, you're poking the bear too. North Korean labor is cheap, available, and, let's be honest, completely expendable from the Kremlin's perspective. For Putin, it's a plug-and-play solution to the one bottleneck that Western sanctions can't fix: a lack of skilled, motivated labor willing to toil in military plants for endless hours and minimal pay. And then there's the question of loyalty. North Korean workers aren't about to jump ship, leak secrets to Western journalists, or strike for mental health days. They're closely watched, beholden to their regime, and conditioned to follow orders, making them the ideal quiet hands for sensitive work in places like the Alabuga drone complex. Russia's own labor force, battered by years of brain drain and demographic collapse, simply can't keep up. But here's what Moscow and Pyongyang don't get. Ukrainian morale is worth more than a warehouse full of drones or a regiment of conscripts. Keep investing in what's worked: flexible, decentralized command, creative use of commercial tech, and propaganda that reminds every soldier and every civilian that they're defending their own home, not fighting for a dictator's vanity project. North Korean troops may be tough, but they're not signing up for this war out of a need to survive. That's a vulnerability Ukraine can exploit. Psychological operations, leaflet drops, social media campaigns, you name it. Ukraine can't fight this alliance on Moscow's terms, but it doesn't have to. Outthink, outmaneuver, and outmessage. That's been the Ukrainian playbook since 2022. And it's the one that's turned the tables again and again. As for the rest of us, well, maybe it's time we start treating Russia and North Korea's axis not like a punchline, but as a problem, one that demands a little less hand-wringing and a lot more action. Maybe it's time for a new joint exercise and a surge of troops to South Korea to remind Kim that he's got his own existential crisis on the peninsula. For never was there a story of more woe than that of Putin and his Romeo, who happens to live in Pyongyang. That's it for today, friends. Subscribing is the best way to support this channel. I noticed that in the past 30 days, this channel has had 500,000 returning viewers, but only 85,000 subscribers. So do me a favor and hit the button. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.